Through its worldwide resources, EWTN presents a truly global perspective of our Catholic faith. Welcome to the Catholic Sphere. I'm Brian Patrick, and this week we're going to learn more about the Church in Ukraine and in Spain. We have two brand new contributors, and we welcome back a dear friend. Martin Rothweiler, Managing Director at EWTN Germany, is with us again from Cologne. Joining us for the first time on the Catholic Sphere, Jose Carlos Gonzalez Hurtado from Madrid, Spain, we call him JC, and military chaplain Father Andriy Zelinsky from Kiev in Ukraine, the capital there. Father Andriy, we have followed the war years on American media there in Ukraine. You've served 3 years in the trenches. Tell us now about the ecumenical effort in the Ukraine to heal the wounds of the war.
Actually, it's a great opportunity to be able to talk today from the society, from the context where we, as the people of Ukraine, have to go through the context of pain and of sorrow towards hope. So this is exactly the path that the Church is seeking to lay today, and that's to feel the pain of the people since the beginning of the Russian aggression against Ukraine 7 years ago, and not merely stop with this feeling, but to be able to mobilize, to concentrate our common efforts and to move towards the horizons of hope. Ukraine is a multi-faith society with a predominant, of course, majority, Orthodox majority of the population, but still with a very numerous Catholic presence in the country, in both rites, with, of course, a greater community of Ukrainian Greek Catholics and Latin Rite Catholics, and with a number of Protestant denominations. So when there is an evil at the gates, when there is a real threat at the gates, it was the faith that actually created, it was a set of Christian values that actually formed a platform to give a common answer to the threats that we were facing. So both the Orthodox Church of Ukraine and Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, with also great and numerous assistance of our Protestant brothers, we try to find the way out. We try to heal the wounds of war. And this is maybe one of the greatest, I would say, so to say, a greatest acknowledgements that we can make today to our brothers, that when there is a threat, we are together. We pray together, we serve together, we tend the wounds of our soldiers together. We are in the trenches together. You mentioned 3 years in trenches, and there are always either Orthodox priests or Protestant pastors serving to the spiritual needs of our soldiers.
So the Christians come together under the power of the great healer, Jesus himself, to seek healing. So this is really true ecumenism, but Martin, I wonder, how does this ecumenism differ maybe from what we're seeing in Germany at the moment?
John Paul II, the Saint John Paul II, described the situation of the Church in Ukraine once as a ecumenical laboratorium because of the so many denominations. Germany naturally is known as a country of Luther, as a country of the Reformation, and we do have Orthodox Christians here. It's about 2%. But about 27% of the Germans are Catholics, and 25%, around 25% are Protestants, just to give you an idea. And therefore, the ecumenism is basically focused naturally on the relationship between the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church. And therefore, a big topic is the intercommunion. I think the majority even of the church hierarchy, of the Catholic Church hierarchy, is kind of in favor of allowing intercommunion, especially for Protestant partners and a Protestant Catholic marriage. This is one thing, but they're also kind of tend to approve intercommunion in general, as we will be having the Third Ecumenical Church Day in May.
And of course, the Vatican has weighed in opposition to that idea. Let's go to Spain. And Jose Carlos, we want to welcome you to the Catholic Sphere, our EWTN family. So your team just launched EWTN in Spain. Tell us how that all got started and some of the challenges that you're facing there in the early going.
Well, first of all, thanks a lot, Brian, for having us here. Yeah, I think that we are we are probably the youngest kid of EWTN globally. We launched last December 8th, so the day of the Immaculate Conception, which is an important festivity everywhere, but especially in Spain. So we're basically like 3 months on air. And, very recently, right before Easter, we got an interesting challenge, actually. I mean, I never thought that I was going to suffer this, but we were censored by the social media. So we are airing our signal in TV, and we also had a YouTube live channel. And as I said, right before Easter, we were putting a program on a pro-life program, and so they gave us what they call the first strike. So they put us down, and then we had a second program, which is called Saints and Heroes. This is a cartoon program for kids, and they send us another note saying this is inappropriate content, and they put the signal out again. I'm still wondering which part is inappropriate, the Saints part or the Heroes part. I really don't know.
So they deemed that inappropriate and knocked you off Facebook and YouTube. Is there any indication that you'll be getting back on? Have they given you any hint as to what's going to happen next?
I mean, I don't know if you have ever tried to discuss or have a conversation with YouTube or Facebook, but it's basically impossible. I mean, you're just talking to a bot, and they answer back, no, you are inappropriate. Okay, so thank you very much. So the answer is actually no. We don't have any sign back. What we have done is, Mother Angelica was the saint, or if you want, the person of the providence, and we believe so much on it too. So what we put up is our new website. We are TV on demand. This actually pushed us to advance the TV on demand in our website. So we're basically doing what YouTube does in our website. So no, we don't have any answer from YouTube. We're still waiting for it.
Well, it's good that happened now instead of when you were a little more established. And I'm sure we'll work through all this, and maybe Martin and Father have some ideas for you in our next couple of segments. And next, here on the Catholic Sphere, we're celebrating Mother Angelica's 98th birthday. Stay with us for more of the Global Catholic Network, EWTN, and the Catholic Sphere. Welcome back to the Catholic Sphere, EWTN's weekly global perspective of our Catholic faith. I'm Brian Patrick. Father Andrei Zelinsky is joining us from Ukraine, Jose Carlos Gonzalez Hurtado from Spain, and Martin Rottweiler, our EWTN studio in Germany. Before we talk about Mother Angelica and actually hear some classic Mother as a birthday celebration for her, let's go to Jose in Spain. How is the Church handling COVID there, and what protocols and precautions are in place? And finally, do you see any signs of things easing at all, JC?
Well, at the beginning, the authorities, they were very stringent with the celebrations. In some places in Spain, people couldn't go to Mass, but, over time, I think over the period, and depending also where in Spain, I think that the priests and the bishops, they have, got to the new normal, and we can celebrate Mass and we can go to Mass. I mean, there have been more Masses, so the priests have put more Masses in the churches. And then, I think that today probably we have normal celebrations of Masses in the Catholic Spain.
We're in the Easter season, and people have been without the regular sacraments and liturgies for quite a long time. Are you seeing a real return to church, or are the congregations still small?
I think that there's always a good part in every bad, actually. And what we are seeing is that there's more need of coming back to church. There's more people are actually more attending Masses in the open Spain. So yeah, I mean, I don't know yet if it's because of the Easter part or is because of the COVID or what it is. But the truth is that people are becoming more aware of the importance of the faith and celebrating it.
And maybe we are all appreciating it just a little bit more. Martin, you referred to this briefly before in our conversation, but I want to revisit the synodal path that Germany's bishops are on. What's the latest in that controversial step by the bishops there?
I mean, the latest is, I think, the reaction to the letter or the document coming from the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith regarding the no. I mean, there was the question, the no regarding the blessing of same-sex couples, of the relationship, of their living together. And I think this caused a big opposition and criticism among German bishops, especially also from the chairman of the German Bishops' Conference, Bishop Betzing. And I may quote, if you want, because you won't believe it in a way, what he said, what he wrote, or what he answered in a document, in an interview on the website of his Diocese of Limburg. And he wrote a document, I mean, about the document that was written by Cardinal Ladaria, a document that in its argumentation is so blatantly closes its mind to a progress of knowledge of theological and human scientific kind will lead pastoral practice to ignore it. So, I mean, what does it mean finally? It means, okay, no matter what Rome says, no matter what the Holy Father says, because the letter from, or the document, the answer, the no, from Ladaria was clearly also, as reported, approved by the Holy Father. It says, okay, the practice in Germany is different, and we don't care. This is what it basically says. So I think you can imagine what this means, what kind of irritation this is among the faithful.
I want to get to Father Zielinski in just a minute, but I have one more question for you. The way the church is funded in Germany is different than in the United States, where we give our donation, our tithe. Isn't there a tax actually in Germany? And I wonder if that tax is tied at all to any of these possible proposals for changes, especially toward the more secular.
Yes, we have this kind of tax church or church tax system. That means that the state is collecting the money for the church on behalf of the church, so that the church doesn't have to collect it directly. So it's a kind of service to the church. But naturally, that means a dependency of the church on the dependency on the state. And naturally, I would say there is maybe the synodal path in all the ways not just basically motivated by that or only motivated by that. There's a manifold motivation. But I think it plays a role because the hierarchy, or at least the majority of the hierarchy, it seems, in Germany is afraid of being looked upon, at least that certain church positions are could be interpreted as discriminatory. And therefore, it's kind of, they like to compromise or maybe please and have not the courage to go against the mainstream in these questions. And yes, if you think that the church would not receive the church tax anymore, it would be a material collapse of the church, not a spiritual one. And some faithful even think it may bring about a purification of the church.
All right, Martin Rothweiler in Germany. Back now to Kiev and Father Andriy. I'm fascinated by your work as a military chaplain. Can you walk us through a typical day for you?
As soon as you wake up, if you're a military chaplain at the front line, you have to do two things: to pray and to work. And to work means to realize, there is one very appreciated by the military chaplains sacrament, that is the sacrament of presence. So you gotta make yourself present to your troops. In the trenches, you would go from one position to another position. You would, and then to do one thing, one very important thing for a military chaplain at the front line is to listen and to hear what a wounded by war heart has to say. And then, obviously, if you're a priest, you have all the graces necessary to heal, to mend those wounded hearts. But once again, it's traveling. It's to be a missionary, to be an apostle, to go from one position to another position, to make our Lord present in the midst of what looks very, very, at times, cruel and what looks at times very senseless. But to be present, to help, to defend the most precious gift we've got from our Lord, and that is our humanity.
Yeah, and Father, church says that the priest in the confessional is in persona Christi, in the person of Christ. So when you take that sacrament to the trenches, aren't you actually taking Christ directly to these warriors?
That's exactly the heart of the mission of a military chaplain. No, I usually say that is to bow the heaven down to a soldier, to make Christ present there, to defend once again the greatest gift we will ever have, and that is our humanity, our capacity to do good, to fight for what is right, to defend what is true, to contemplate the beauty even there in the trenches, the real beauty, the beauty of a human heart capable to defend.
Father Andriy Zelinsky in Kiev, Ukraine. Next on the Catholic Sphere, Martin shares personal memories of our dear mother Angelica celebrating her 98th birthday this week. Stay with us here on Mother's Network, EWTN. It is truly good to have you with us for the Catholic Sphere, a weekly global perspective of our faith here on EWTN. I'm Brian Patrick, along with Martin Rottweiler in Germany, Jose Carlos Gonzalez Hurtado in Spain, and Father Andriy Zelinsky in Ukraine. EWTN founder's mother Angelica was born Rita Antoinette Rizzo in Canton, Ohio, 98 years ago this week. Let's go back to Mother's 76th birthday and take a look at how she celebrated growing older.
76 isn't so bad. I get up feeling the same as I did when I was 26. And that was pretty rotten. So I think things haven't changed that much. But I think, you know what I did this morning? I thank God. I did. I thank God, first of all, for creating me. My mother and father were married 8 years before they were divorced, and I was the only one who came along. So I have to be most grateful for that. And sometimes, you know, you hear people say, oh, you know, I wish I weren't born or something. That's a terrible thing to say. I know things are hard sometimes, but we can't say that because God chose us from a possible million, billion people who might have been and never will be. Time is gone. They never will be. And yet you and I are here, sitting together, laughing together. And that's a big grace from God. And so I wish tonight we would thank our dear Lord for creating us. And even though our lives have been hard, my life was very hard before I came to know the Lord, and that was about 18, 19 years. And I know now that our dear Lord used those years to make me strong, see? To teach me to endure. And I think that's what we all need. We have to thank God for that. Maybe some of us would be much worse off character-wise if we did not have those crosses and trials, see? So I just want you to thank God with me for having been born, and you do it too. Don't have to be your birthday. It can be just that ordinary day that you say, thank you, Lord, Father, for creating me.
Just love Mother's gratitude for life itself, not just on our birthday, but every day. We are pro-life, grateful for our own lives, gifted by God. What we do with our lives is our gift to God, and so many of us are privileged to continue the work that Mother started. Martin, having started with the network so many years ago, I'm sure that you have some wonderful stories about Mother Angelica. What's your favorite?
I mean, first of all, it's great to see Mother on TV still today, and I'm sure she's watching us from above, for sure. My first encounter with her was probably the most significant one because I didn't know her before, and I was sent by kind of some German fellows who wanted EWTN to start in Germany to the United States, to Birmingham, and there was my first encounter with Mother Angelica. I had no clue what this religious woman was, but what I immediately discovered was her that she was down to earth. She has an enormous love for Jesus Christ, enormous faithfulness, love for the church. And I think her great sense of humor was something that kind of convinced me most. And what I think is, when I said, if this is the spirituality of EWTN, if this is the spirituality of my mother, that's something that I could really share. And at the end of the conversation, I remember she turned to Chris Wegemer, who's now the Senior Vice President of Marketing of EWTN, and said to him, I think he can do it. So this was a kind of a vocation, the way that she, called me to do the work for EWTN in Germany. And this was a funny thing, but then at many encounters, yes.
That trademark of Mother, I think we can do it, even when she really didn't know how it was going to be done. Has that given you the inspiration you need to overcome some of the obstacles that you faced over all these years?
Definitely. When we encountered her, when I met her, I always, naturally shared the difficulties, the shortcomings, the step backs that we had and challenges. And she always said, she has gone through all that in very, very hard times, to encourage us just to trust in the divine providence. And this was probably the key of her life. And she was a great witness of this divine providence. And I also remember her sharing stories about her kind of visions, if I may say so, that she had a very intimate relationship with Jesus Christ, and she venerated Jesus Christ as a child, very much so. And she gave, for me, something that I will never forget. She said, to illustrate the mercy of God is, think or imagine that at the end of the days of our life and at the days of the world, Jesus would come back as a child and ask us just the one question, please to love him. I think what a wonderful image for showing the mercy of God, that he just appears us as a child asking for our love. And who can reject if a child asks for your love? We still have a free will, and this is an essential point. But I think this shows the deep spirituality and the deep love of Mother Angelica for Jesus Christ.
So simply beautiful. So, JC, you recently worked to start up EWTN Spain. What inspiration can you draw from Mother's faithfulness and courage?
Brian, it's fascinating. It's so good to hear Martin also on how they started. We have tons of issues as we were starting EWTN in Spain, and none of us was coming. I think none of the people that have started EWTN in Spain was coming from media. From different places, and we didn't know much about Mother Angelica, and we started reading, and there was one point in which I read, I said, listen, and she said to somebody, and it's almost like a continuation of the quote that you put from Mother Angelica before, and she says, listen, God has selected you from all eternity, you specifically from all eternity, to be there in this very time to change the world. And you're like, wow, seriously? So let's get started.
Yeah, nobody can do the task that you were assigned by God. Each of us has that unique opportunity. And Father Andre, you're a new contributor. We'd like to get to know you a little bit. Tell us about your discernment to the priesthood and where God is leading you right now.
It all began with a dream. And definitely so. I had a dream. I just noticed that the world around me can become a bit better, and I decided to become a part of this change, of this transformation. And I figured out that this is exactly through my priesthood, through my spiritual way in the Society of Jesus, that I can become a part of this change. And I do believe, and I do consider this dream to be the greatest gift of God for me, but also a gift for everybody around me. So it was either during my studies in the United States or in Rome or even back in Ukraine or in trenches during the military conflict in the eastern part of our country. So there is always this realization that I have this great gift, a gift of life and a gift of my vocation, which I am resolute to share with others. So it's about a dream, I think.
And now that you are part of Mother Angelica's ministry, do you care to share a little bit about her and her inspiration to you and others where you are?
Yes, she was a big inspiration to me during, as I already mentioned, during my years of philosophy in the United States. I used to watch the show sometimes to feel the same as she told us today in the video that we just watched, the same love for life and the same love for sharing, for enriching this life with God's grace. So to be a part of a great team is a great thing, and to be a part of a great mission is even greater. And by doing the same thing that Mother Angelica has done in her time and still doing through us, you feel yourself to be a part of a great mission.
Yeah, and I would like to just add my own reflection, because Mother has been a great inspiration to me. One thing I loved about her is her genuineness, her sincere faith, but her genuineness, her down-to-earth approach to everything, that conversation. She was a great communicator, and I just try to follow in her example. We want to thank Father Andrei Zelinsky in Ukraine, Jose Carlos Gonzalez Hurtado, JC in Spain, and Martin Rothweiler in Germany. Thanks to all three of you. Great job today. We look forward to seeing each of you again. I'm Brian Patrick. Be sure to join us next week on The Catholic Sphere as we celebrate motherhood with Mother's Day nearing.